Okay, as you can see from that intro, we do quite a variety of fishing, and we've had this Lund for about a year now, and as you can see, we made a couple of improvements upon it, which I'll get into later. I wanted to get into trolling, and that's what led me to the Lund, actually, trying to find a boat that would be multi-purpose, or rather I was going to make it into a multi-purpose boat. Okay, let's talk about the Hardtop. Well, for a start, it was made in Cape May, New Jersey by a guy called Charles from C&C Marine. Did a fantastic job, actually exceeded all my expectations on how it would turn out. So how did we figure it out? Well, basically, you had to make decisions on how far back on the boat that we needed it. Were there blueprint plans? Were there designs? No, it was just pretty much good old-fashioned engineering. And sometimes that's the way to do things. And again, Charles was cut from the same cloth as me. You know, we figured it out. A couple of concerns I had was, you know, is it going to be strong enough? Or is the gunnel here going to be able to hold it? And Charles reassured me that no problem. He's been doing it for 30 years, and he did a beautiful job on it. Now again, you know, from day one, like I knew, like, you know, the width of the gunnel here was pretty wide, and of course you could have a bit of negotiations when it came to the support brackets here, which actually have a plate underneath them. And there's actually one there. There's the second one is right under the windscreen here, and again back plated. And of course, the third one is up here on the bow. So it's got three on the gunnel, and then it's got a fourth one then right here on the front. Now, you may ask, why is there an angle up this way? Well, there's a reason for that. If you're fishing from the bow here, you know, again, we don't have a cover on this yet, but there may be a cover on it. But some of our biggest fish have been hooked up here, so it's very easily to walk right through here. We thought about, you know, designing it in a way like where there would be an angle down here. Problem with that is you get a big fish here, you got to go around this post and that post. Now all you got to do is go around that post there, run to the back, and you got your fish, which is pretty good. Again, we knew we were going to install the Garmin up here. You may ask, like, why do you need a Garmin on a Lund? Well, some of the places that I fish early in the morning, it gets pretty foggy, and all the boats I've ever had before had a radar, so I wasn't going to do without it. Would I have went with a Furuno? Yeah, but again, I didn't have space down there to put the screen. So I went with the Garmin Phantom. It's hooked up to the Garmin 8612, and so far it works pretty good. But I'll talk more about that later on. Anyway, it's a fiberglass top, but it's very, very thin. And actually, Charles called it a skin, and the reason for that is weight-wise. So it's very, very light. Total weight on this is probably about 100 to 150 pounds, because it is made of polished aluminium, you know, 1.5 inches, I think it's 1.25 inches, and then 2 inch on the top. You may notice that the outriggers are on this. Well, why would you need outriggers on a Lund? Down the road we will be moving further south, or fishing further south, and it was an option that Charles put to me, and I said, you know what, put them in. We will use them. So someday they may be, or they will be, tuna and mahi-mahi on the deck of this boat, and I have no hesitation that, because I've used outriggers before. We haven't them rigged up yet, like, you know, but down the road, you know, if we ever get that far, which I hopefully we will, we'll be fishing further south, and we will be using the outriggers. Lights, we went with 2 LEDs right here, and to my surprise, they have a little kind of a blue, I don't know what you call it, a blue one in it as well. Anchor light on top, and the navigation lights as well are on the front. They were all wired actually into the existing wiring that Lund had, and all in all it turned out pretty good. Charles exceeded my expectations as regards the design layout. He done a beautiful job. It is as strong as an ox, this thing. It is going nowhere. I've been probably have 1,000 miles put on this Hardtop, and hasn't moved an inch. Don't expect it to move an inch. Okay, let's move on to the baitboard here, or as we call it, a baitboard workstation here. Now, first of all, we had to custom make this because, you know, we really couldn't find it anywhere. Now, for the variety of fish that we fish for, you know, we need to be able to cut, you know, we use blue crab, we buy by the bushel. And what we need to do is be able to cut it into halves, quarters, for whatever variety of fish we're fishing for. For red drum, you know, you go to half, or sometimes you go to full. For tautog, you know, you cut it into quarters. For sheephead, into quarters. And yeah, blue crab works really well for that type of fishing. So to do all of this, we needed this workstation, baitboard. We needed actually to slide back and forth. So what we did is we got a 12-inch piece of Cisco track. And then what we did is we custom make, I do my own aluminum welding, so we custom made a little pedestal here. And then on the top here, we added on a Cisco electronics mount. And what that does is it allows this thing to pivot. Now it pivots back and forth. So now we can pivot it all the ways up. Now actually we can open our live well here. We have a little clip here that we put on, and now we have access to that. Again, when we're done, all we have to do is to drop it down, close it up, pop it back down again, tighten it up. Now with the Cisco tracks, you know, you can adjust this to whatever level you want to, and when you lock it down, it's extremely strong. So there was no fear of us when we run down the highway that this was going to flip and flop all over the place. Thought about doing it with ram balls, but no, you'd be wibbledy all over the place. But the Cisco mounts worked out pretty good, and it is extremely strong and job done. And also, like, you know, getting to the end of the week of a fishing trip, you want to bring some fish home, especially good tasting fish like blackfish, really good fish. So what we do is we vacuum pack it. We bring our vacuum packer with us, which works great. The problem that we were having here is, it was, you know, when you put the bag in here, the fish would fall down here, and it was becoming a little difficult to get the fish in here. So I said, well, what are we going to do there? So what we did is made a little extension here. This is actually composite wood. You can get this stuff in Lowe's and the whole lot. So what happens here, and we made a little track, which basically are two little pieces here of some spare track from Cisco that we had left over. And we ended up making it into, you know, a quick hinge. So what we do is we just pop it on here, and you say, oh, it's flopping. And then we came up with the idea of actually, you know, this is an already little, I don't know what they call these, tripods or whatever, selfie sticks, and we just pop that underneath. Now we got a perfect workstation here. Easily removable. Now we can slide our bags out here, pop our fish in, bada boom, we're in business. For stripers, sometimes we like to use live bait, so we have to use the Castnet. Again, the beauty of the Fisherman here is we can walk all the ways up to the front of the boat here, get all the tangles out of our Castnet, and then it becomes very, very easy. We got plenty space here to toss the net. When we bring our bait in, we can lift this up and pop our bunker right into our live well here. You probably notice these covers that are on the back. They're made by Sea to Summit, and that one covers the helix, and this one covers the fish hawk. And we tie them on the bottom here with a little bit of Velcro. But yeah, with all the washing and cleaning here, you don't want that stuff to get messy. But yeah, I mean, when we're running down the highway, I keep these things on, and if it pours rain, they're dry, and yeah, they're cheap, you know, and they're waterproof, and they work out pretty good. Okay, well, you probably notice these little portholes that we have here both on the back. We have them actually here in the front on both sides, and we also have one here way up in the front. Now, when you get the Lund Fisherman, what happens is these are both open. There's nothing there, you know, and with all the washing and cleaning that I do here, you know, I didn't want water getting all the ways down into stuff that I had down in there. Now, I had bought, like, you know, a 4x8 sheet of starboard, and, you know, I'm pretty handy with a router, and I'm looking at this going, well, you can have these custom made by, I think it's boat outfitters in Florida, I believe. What I ended up doing, actually, is I bought the all the hinges from them and the hardware from them. And yeah, it was a little tricky in places, but yeah, they turned out pretty good. Again, they're all removable. There's only 4 screws in these things here, so they pop out pretty easy, especially up here. Like, I mean, the batteries are down in there. And if I have to get in there, I just pop out those screws, 4 screws in a second, and they all pop out pretty easily. But it just tidies things up a little bit and keeps the water out of there. And yeah, they work out pretty good. So we ended up going with the Cisco track system here. Very, very happy with it. It's very, very versatile. And Yeah, no problems with it whatsoever. The issue that we had was, you know, at the time that we bought Cisco, it was about 10 months ago, whatever, they didn't make the little L brackets that came in this. Consequently, they might have them now, but we just couldn't get them. So what we ended up doing was going to Yakutak, who make these little brackets that they use in their track. So then we had to figure out a way of actually getting them in here. Now we ended up making our own brackets when we had the next thing was make the holes. Now to our surprise, when you put a square on that, it's like it shoots up in the air, which kind of surprised me. But all you have to do in that scenario, you know, is get a bevel, put it on it, and once you find that angle, well, then you're in business. You can make your brackets, put your holes in, but the pickle was getting these guys in. So what we ended up doing was we removed the back bumper here carefully, and then we were able to slide all these guys, you know, up along the track. Once we slide them up the track, then we put our knobs on, and bada boom, we're in business. Now, once we figured that out, then it was pretty easy. We could make a mount for the downrigger. We could customize the length of the rail here for the rod holders, and also we could make our own bracket here for the live scope. You know, it's a tough decision of where actually you put it. Do you put it in the back of the boat, the front of the boat? In our scenario here, the best position actually was right behind the chair here, because, you know, you could sit and look at the Garmin, and we could turn the handle back and forth and see everything on the back of the boat, on the front of the boat, and, you know, we could see a whole 360 degrees with it. Now, secondly, we didn't want the transducer cable getting tangled up and everything, so that's another reason why we have it here in the center. So what we did actually here to solve that is we made a hole here. We put a grommet in here, and we can very easily pull the cable out, and when we're finished, you know, we can tuck it back in here again, and it's out of the way. The last bracket that we have over here is made by, it's the magnetic version that you get from Fishing Specialities. Beautiful thing, very easily removed. You just loosen the knobs here, you remove it. You know, what we did actually end up doing was put an extra magnet on the side of the rail here, down below the rail, and very easily you put it on here, you know, twist your two knobs here, and it's out of the way. Just push it in here, you know, tidy it up on the back here, close our door here, and yeah, we're all good to go. Now, in calm waters, you're pretty okay. You can just pop this off thing, use it here, potsy around, and you're pretty good. But in some places that we fish, like the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, you know, that's 17 miles long, and what happens is there, just with the boat like barely in gear, you know, the tide is just running so strong that it'll rip this off the bracket here. So what we ended up doing we secure a little rope to it here, and we have a strap right here on the bottom of the transducer, and we clip this onto the strap and tie it onto the bow, and yeah, it's pretty safe. If you don't do that, you're going to lose it. You know, popped off on us a few times, but by adding the strap here, yeah, we're safe now. And that's only just in gear. Those tides are strong, but what we use it for is we will go by all the pilings and just check each individual along as we go along. No point in fishing on a piling where there's no fish, but the live scope here will shine around the piling, and that's where your fish are. With the Fishing Specialities, we got the longest one that they had, but as you can see, you know, when you travel with this thing or when you're not using it, you got to store it away. So we figured out that we'd utilize the little buttons that we have here, and we got these little Velcro straps that actually we got from Fishing Specialities. You can very easily actually make your own. You know, all you have to do here is basically like drill a little hole. You know, you can put a little washer, a little stainless steel washer on it, put it behind the button here. You know, if it's a little too long, all you have to do is cut it, and you got the same thing. While I'm here, I'll give you a couple of, you know, a quick tour of the rod holders that we use. You know, the Cisco one here, which is again is the most expensive one. But if you are kind of need a rod to go down really deep in the water or right down on the edge here, this one is great because it has this lock here, and then when you lock it over, it prevents your rod from flying down in the water. That one's pretty good. The next one, Canons, love them, really good, really adjustable. You know, you can pivot them back and forth. They're very, very good. Last one here is made by Yakutak, and we've used those for years. They're very, very good. You can pivot them back and forth, and you know, you can take them out pretty easy, and then you can move them around the boat. You're probably wondering why all these funny black knobs are everywhere. Well, these are great in a pickle. You know, you need to move them around. They're cheap, and they are very, very good. And lastly, like since we have like the hardtop post over here, you know, we could take advantage of that. So what we did here is I have a cannon up here, challenge was connecting the cannon to the post here, which can be a challenge all the time when it comes to the right size to get. But we ended up getting actually a Lee outrigger light fixture. We put a piece of Velcro in the middle here because, you know, you tighten this down, you don't want it to scratch the post here. But the challenge was to get the two to come together. So what we ended up doing was we made our own bracket here. You know, there's 4 screws on the front and there's 2 here. You know, it was a challenge, but we figured it out. Very, very strong, you know, and like that. But now we can ultimately adjust this any way we want to do it. We can pivot it all sorts of directions and take advantage of, you know, the things that the cannon has. We probably will add another one on the top here and probably one more on the bottom here, and then we got our own tree right here on the post. Now for the Canon TS here, you know, it needed to be strong. You know, you got like a 12, 14 pound ball flying out of this thing, so it really needs to be strong. We ended up actually, you know, supporting it on the front here. You know, we put a little rubber on the end here to give it a bit of a buffer on it. But yeah, this works out pretty good. You know, with the pivot action and the whole lot. Again, the position of this was kind of a pickle, you know, a tough decision to make. You put it way back there, you're trying to get at the ball. You put it too far forward here, you know, it's in the way. So we figured out, like, you know, this was the best spot for it here because, you know, we twist it out. You know, we can sit down here, you know, grab our ball here, you know, do our business and drop her down. You know, it's a little tight there, but it's the best I could come up with. You know, and again, if somebody catches a fish, you know, you got to get in here with the net. So the position of this, we needed it to be adjustable so we could move it back an inch or two if we needed. And that's the reason why it's separated from the track. Now for bottom fishing, you know, the cannon's going to be in our way here. So, you know, we can move the rod holders pretty much. We can move that one back there and then we've got places for the rod holders. But with the cannon here, yeah, you can take it off, but what do you do? Where do you put it? You know, you put it on the deck here, you trip over it, you put it over there. You know, the tide is running, you know, and it's going to flop all over the place. So kudos to Canon. What we figured out was that the bracket that it's on here, you know, is very, very easily removable. So we kind of said if we had that, you know, we could mount it somewhere. We thought of places here, but you know, there's no place to mount it here. So what we did is we bought the bracket here. I think it was like 35 bucks or something. So what we figured out, like, you know, we're not going to be fishing on the bow if we are bottom fishing. You know, sometimes, you know, it's another story about the bow fishing. But what we figured out was that, you know, if we mount the mount up there, which we did, now we can store the cannon up on the bow here, and the bracket and the pedestal here goes right beside it. So we moved them up on the bow. You know, they're secure. You know, if we hit a wave or whatever, they're not going to fall over. But I mean, I've asked my buddies, do you want me to move this stuff? And they've said, like, no, it's fine. You know, they got their bottles of water here. They're happy campers. They're secure to the floor. They're not moving anywhere. The pedestals, we can slide forward a little bit. Do they get in your feet? No, they don't get in your way. You know, but you still got plenty of room to fish here. And, you know, they're out of the way. And, yeah, I mean, you can have a blast up here fishing for stripers with Hoagie XLs, top water. And all my buddies love to fish up here. And, yeah, we catch a lot of fish in the bow. And of course, if we move to full trolling mode, well, you know, the Canon, the Humminbird Helix 9 and the Fishhawk, they'll all talk to each other on that one boat network via, you know, via Bluetooth. The beauty of the Humminbird here, you know, we can see, you know, our downrigger balls exactly where they are. We can see where the fish are. We can adjust up and down. Fishhawk, beautiful thing. Temperature, speed on the bottom. Thirdly, you know, and lastly, the Canon Reactor 40, we got the remote right here, which we can, you know, alter course. Sometimes I'm a one-man show back in here, and of course with the radar back there, you know, it will set a course. It will alert me if anybody is in my line of path. So if I'm working back here and I get too busy and, you know, there's a collision going to happen up there, the alarm goes off and I can just turn here, turn the remote, boop, point in that direction, and the boat will veer off away from, you know, trouble. Moving up the deck here, we have the smooth move seats. Beautiful, Tim. Absolutely love those things. You know, if you got back pain, they will fix your back. Makes the day a wonderful day. Over here, we have a coffee holder, which actually we made ourselves. You know, we don't have the remote. We have the, in the back there, we have the tiller version, so we didn't need that area. We utilize it with our coffee cup holder here. We have a radio here, which, you know, we charge on the port here. Always in here, we always forget to charge that thing. We have a remote for the reactor and also the inReach, which we always had. I always had that because we go to some very, very remote places. And that will give you cellular service, text, all that kind of fun stuff. It hooks up into the Garmin here. You can do all the bells and whistles. You got full almost full internet with that. Down here we have the GH50, which we actually had to move the stereo unit over to this side to accommodate that. I wanted that separate because I wanted, you know, the screen here, I wanted to use it for the live scope and a bunch of other things. Well, why Garmin? Well, why not? I mean, you know, the radar up there is hooked up to it, the reactor's hooked up to it. That's the main reason for Garmin. And of course, you know, the screen quality in that is absolutely, I love the screen of that. Anyway, moving on to the Lowrance. Well, why Lowrance? This is an HDS7, and I always had it. And, you know, it fits nicely in there. Getting two 12s in there might be a little bit of an issue. You'd probably squeeze them in. But it would be tight. But the reason for the HDS7, and I do like Lowrance, they're very, very good, it's its compatibility with the motor guide in the front. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you just want to troll all day long with it, you can set your course with this. And when you put in the NEMA network and you add in the gateway for the motor guide, it's very, very compatible with that. And it may actually have a leg up on Garmin as regards its cruise control, but you set your course with that little Lowrance there and it'll follow it, and you can adjust your speed. You know, you can look back at your fish hawk back there and you can adjust it, and it holds it pretty good. But all in all, very happy with the Lowrance. Always like to have it. Garmin, great as well. Very comfortable area here. Everything is at your fingertips here, and yeah, it makes your day very, very easy and enjoyable. Okay, let me talk about batteries. When you get the Lund Fisherman, they give you one battery and it's right down underneath here. For me, you know, and again, when I looked at it, you know, I said if I have to access anything in there, it's going to be pretty difficult. And also the cables leading to the bus bars were awfully short. So to diagnose a problem would be extremely difficult. So what I decided to do was to move them. And what I did is I moved the start battery over to here, and then of course you need a house battery over there. Now, as you can see, I made a little frame underneath here, you know, on both sides, and they're pretty easy to do. You know, you can get that stuff in Lowe's, Home Depot, and you know, I just tidied things up. Also, you can see, you know, it allowed me to put a power source for the Canon here, and also what I did over here, you know, there's a little area here where you can pull out the transducer for the Canon as well. Now, by having the batteries, you know, out here, you know, it makes my life awful easy. All I got to do is pull up here, I got access to that battery, and over here I got access to the house battery. Now, if you can see down in here, there is a Blue Seas battery monitor on both of them, because this system here, you know, you got to take advantage of your mercury and your alternator. So what happens here is, you know, with a combiner, which is underneath down here, what happens is, you know, your battery power here with the alternator direct to the start battery, you know, it'll shoot up to 13.7 or whatever, and then once it has its power, then it'll shoot the power over here to the house battery. So literally I can stand here, you know, and watch that current here, and within about 20 or 30 seconds you can see it fly over to the house battery and everything is charged up nicely. And also right down beside the combiner here we have an auxiliary panel buried back in there as well. Now, getting over to here, you know, again, you have to turn the stuff off and on, but in here we have our on-off switch for our house battery, and then also on the switch there's a combiner, so we can actually combine both batteries together if in an emergency if we wish. Also, what we have in here is a Genius, it's a 2-bank charger that charges up both the house battery and charges up, you know, the start battery here. Of course, the on-off switch for the start battery is up here on the dash, but by adding all this stuff in here, you've got to be able to separate the power out. And of course, you know, if I have to change anything here, all I have to do is just take off these 4 screws. This pops out and I can access that stuff there and take it out. The second battery charger is way up here in the front that charges the motor guide, and again, that's actually a 4-bank, believe it or not, that one there, and that charges all the batteries for the motor guide. And both the Noco Genius charges are actually, one runs all the ways down here, and then it comes into a T right about here somewhere where it connects up to the other battery charger, and then down in here, well, basically that's our cord for our shore power, which is very easily open up. We don't have to climb into the boat. You have it all right there on the back. And of course, to conserve power, you know, right down in here we have the live scope. There's the off switch on that there. There's no point in you using power when you don't need it. And then the power source for the radar is right in here. So, like, you know, you got to turn that stuff off. Circuit breakers for the cannons are on both sides here. And yeah, again, with all boating and wiring, you got to be able to, you know, separate power, know what you have, conserve it, because you know, if you don't, your batteries are going to run down. You wonder why. So turn off things that you don't need. When you need them, you just turn that switch, and you got the power that you need. Well, and of course, another reason for you know, moving the batteries over out of the way here, again, it gives me great access to the batteries. I can see what's going on. But this area here is extremely valuable. For this season, what we did actually, you know, we used good old Craftsman. You know, they're great they're great tackle boxes. You know, they work great for us. Most important, you know, tackle box you'll ever have is terminal tackle, and it fits, you know, right in here very, very easily. But down the road, what we're going to do here is we're going to make a custom tackle storage in there. You know, I wish it was a little higher, but that's a really valuable space. And rather than, you know, if I keep the batteries in there, I'm in trouble because I won't be able to access them. But yeah, I mean, I have some more of the starboard left. And over the winter time, what we'll do is we will make a custom face with starboard, and then the internal drawers, you know, we'll use composites. And then we'll buy the hinges from boys in Florida, and yeah, we'll do a very nice tackle storage in there. While I'm on the subject, you may be looking at our exotic tackle boxes that we have here. Well, every boat should have a 5-gallon pail, and in this one, you know, we got our Castnet in there. But this one here, well, you know what that's for. But we keep our cannonballs down in here, you know, nice and secure. But these, we get them in Lowe's, and they are the best tackle box you'll ever get. Completely waterproof. You can turn them around, you can see exactly what you have. You know, they open up very, very easily. You can store a ton of gear in them. And yeah, they work great for us, like for $5 in Lowe's. And then when we're finished or whatever, we just pop them on top of our 5-gallon pail. And the way I look at it is function versus name brands. I'll go with the function any day. Okay, let me wrap things up here. You know, if there's suggestions, complaints, actually, in fact, you know, there's only one complaint I have here, and what happened was the only thing that I asked the dealer to put in was the wash down here in the back, and unknowingly what they did was they put the switch down in here, but what happened was they drilled through the live well. But you know, I plugged it with silicone, it's fine, you know, it works fine, there's no big issue. Other things would be, again, the back here, you know, if there's suggestions in this, just raise that back so it gives us more access to use this space down in here. And again, on a boat, space is premium. You know, up on the steer wheel area here, you know, my only suggestion would be is to flatten things out. If you keep things flat here, it makes it easier for us actually to install our electronics. In my opinion, you know, with all the switches that you have in there, you know, all I want is the fuel gauge. All the rest of the stuff, you know, you have it on your Garmin and your Lowrance. So basically all I want is the fuel gauge there, and that gives me more room there to work with. Same thing scenario over here, you know, yeah, it's a big box in here, a big storage area, but it's too big because the stuff you need is always on the bottom. But this area here is perfect. You know, this area right here, if this glove box was right about there, well, then you could put a drawer in there and you could pull out all your bells and whistles. Same over here, access to the wiring here can be challenging because you have to remove the whole top here to get in there. But again, this area here, what I may end up doing is actually making a panel here so it's easier for me to get in there because, you know, putting in the Neiman network in here, you know, yeah, I did the best I could with it. But I could have done a better job if I could get in there. But all in all, you know, in my situation here, you know, spring fishing in New Jersey is great, fall fishing is great, but that in-between section, we're fluking. And, you know, I wanted a boat that I could, you know, a no-nonsense boat that would, I didn't want to be trailering a tank. You know, I wanted a boat like that I could take from here to Lubeck, and from Lubeck right back down to Virginia. That's pretty much what we've done with this season with it. But this does the trick for me. You know, no nonsense, you know, heavy, well, not heavy duty water. I mean, you know, we pick our days, you know, anything around a 10. We've had this thing out maybe, we've had it like 10 miles offshore, and it has worked extremely well for us. You know, other suggestions I would make, you know, I mean, I know everybody sees this area here, and it's great actually. You know, you can fit a lot of, you know, you fit your trolling rods down there, but, you know, I know their intention here was to make it not particularly waterproof, but the problem is a lot of dirt gets in there. And down in the bottom, down in here, you know, the weep holes are, you know, they're tiny. So what I'll have to do here is actually make those a little larger, at least a 1/2 inch weep holes on the back exit here. So when I wash this thing here, the water goes back down to the bilge. But yeah, I mean, if they were to make a little lip along the edge here, and then a hole right here, that would take that water down into the bilge. You know, yeah, it's waterproof then, but it's more dirt proof is the issue that I have with this here. Again, I see this as a lot of other options to it. And when I put my trolling rods up here, you know, I'm looking at this like, you know, and I've had, you know, in boat, you know, fish storage, fish wells, I'll call them. Yeah, and I can see a well in here full of ice with full of fish. Other option I could see is it's a great place to put my blue crab. So you never know. I mean, I see more uses for this down the road than just the rods. And yeah, again with the trailer, which I didn't talk much about, pretty simple here. We put on the trick step here, which works easy, very, very good. Very easy to get in and get out. I would have went with the galvanized trailer, but this is the trailer that came with the deal. I'm amazed that actually it held up really good. I mean, yeah, we wash it down every time we come in, but it's a pretty good trailer. I mean, I probably have maybe over 5,000 miles on this trailer, and yeah, I'm impressed. That Lund coat really works good. A little bit of rust on the connections here for the lights, but I treat that with, I have a special stuff that I treat that with. Ladder on the back, initially I thought was a little flimsy, to be honest with you, but we've been up and down there 1,000 times this year, and yeah, it's held up pretty good. I will do a separate video on the 9.9 here with the reactor in it, because, you know, it will help out a lot of guys when it comes to, you know, Mercury didn't have a whole lot of photographs when it came to putting this in. Very limited information actually on the internet about this, but I figured it out with a bunch of photographs. I'm sure it will help guys if they ever decide to do something like this. Also what I'll do is I'll divide this up into chapters. That may help guys find what they need to find. YouTube, I mean, I'm doing this because I've learned a lot in YouTube, and if it helps you, well and good. So hopefully I'll see you again, and you have a nice day.